Guys, welcome back for another one. Today we are doing another Voice of the Community video where I've asked several polls this week on YouTube platform where you guys can answer these polls, and I'm going to over the results of these polls. And I have with me to guest today, Nico, man, how's it going?
Yeah, it'll be good if I'm not echoing this time.
That problem is solved. So today's video, the questions that were asked. One, we're going to talk about the teal gear scarcity. We're going to talk about Marvel Strike Force will no longer be working on older devices very soon, the Experiment X milestone event, and the player base willingness to pay for costumes in Marvel Strike Force. So with that said, let's jump into it, and we have our first poll. How are you feeling about the Weapon X? I keep calling Weapon X. Is an Experiment X milestone event? 370 votes. 30% says I'm not worried about it. I think I kind of fall in that bucket where I'm not really worried about it. But the majority did say they are upset about it, and they can explain in the comments. And one of the things, guys, I'm adding for this video, down below this screen, you guys can see at the very bottom, I am now showing comments of what people left, so you can, see various opinions out there. 19% said it's a new gear tier. I'm sure it won't be the norm, so they're thinking it will change over time. And 11% of 370 votes says last straw, I quit. What do you make of this poll? What are your feelings, and where do you think you fall?
It seems like something on the Reddit. Oh, I quit the game. Ugh. I feel like I'm kind of in between the I'm not worried about it and the new gear tier, right? Thinking back to like when Dark Dimension 4 was coming out, it seemed like that was a big issue, all those uniques, right? And now I wouldn't say we're swimming in it, but those of us who have done Dark Dimension twice, we're totally fine. We can gear 15 people just for raids and stuff, not necessarily for Dark Dimension. So if you're one of those guys that want to be the first to finish Dark Dimension, then you're spending thousands of dollars anyway, right? So I think it's a little too early to be panicking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I do have something else I want to say, but I think I'm going to save it for a later poll question that will tie in a little bit better than this one. They definitely have raised the price tag on this game with the new teal gear. I don't know if they're trying to play catch up with money, or this was the plan all along, and maybe they weren't happy when Gear Tier 15 came out and saw, like, Gear Tier 15, I mean, I remember, like, I was hoarded up on stuff, and I was able to, like, really make a lot of progress because I hoarded, and then they literally gave me everything that I was hoarding for, and I felt like I was able to gain a lot of ground, but, yeah, it is what it is, I guess. So the next one, Marvel Strike Force announced today, this is 4 days ago at this point, probably longer than that, you guys see this video, you may no longer be able to play Marvel Strike Force on any older devices. There is an article which was linked in the poll. So I was just kind of curious of where the player base fell. Is this a big issue, small issue? And it seems like it's going to be somewhat of a small issue, as where 82% said no, my phone's good to go, they're not expecting any problems. 2% said yes, it is currently a problem, but I should be fine by then. And the 14% says yes, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to continue playing Marvel Strike Force. So 14% of 316 votes, that is about 40 people or so saying I'm not sure if I'm continuing with Marvel Strike Force. I'm sure, I mean, maybe you could chime in here. Are you good to go?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. I don't know. I don't know how old my phone is.
And that's another thing. Like, some people just they don't know. I think one of the comments somebody asked, I wish I was more of a phone tech, but I just never came up in that world. But I'm assuming I'm good. And a lot of people are like, look, I play on emulators, so it's not that big a deal. But if you guys are not aware if your phone's good, you're watching this video right now, I highly recommend go back and look at my community tab and find this poll. There is a link to the Marvel Strike Force article about this, so you can see if your phone falls in those categories. But with that said, Nico, I think it's time to get into your war fail of the week. All right, let's see what we have here. We have, wow. Yeah. Oh. All right, you want to give an explanation on this one? Ooh.
I wish I could. Goodness. So this is Platinum 2. This is one of those weird teams where I'm looking at it and I'm a little cross-eyed, thinking like, well, who's defending here? And then you'd think it's the Emma Marauder team, right? But then it's like, why is Jubilee there?
Yeah.
Like, at our level of gameplay, you're running the mutant modes on Doom, whether you're doing 1 whatever or 2. I'm assuming you're using some variant of Axeman, so you would think that someone else from Axeman would be built up. That's an attack team. It's not the most meta, but it has a use. And then I look at the team that actually was used to attack, and it's like, okay, I get he's not using aim. I get that he dropped Namor for She-Hulk, right? Pym isn't really good by itself. Like, so there's some logic to this, but like, Doc Ock is a much better defensive team. So I just couldn't understand, like, looking at this, where's the synergy in any of this?
It's just crazy. Like with Sabretooth's rework, I think he's a shoe-in and back on that Marauders team.
Well, yeah, like it is, especially now. Like this is a nice period where we don't have the full Weapon X team, right? So
Yeah.
just throw him on there, get some use out of him. People will underestimate it, and maybe you'll get a lucky win. But I mean, look at the punch down too, right? I mean that's
Yeah.
like almost 100K, and so the thing is that I think it was Paulo did like a really long video back when Emma Marauders was the meta defense team, and he was talking about all the different teams that you could use to fight them, and it basically always boiled down to Ultron with 4 other people, right? Whether it
Yeah.
was supernatural or power armor or whatever, right? So and especially looking at that Strife, he's not particularly built up, but then how does Ultron fit in with the rest of those guys? Even Doc Ock, a summon is stealing a spot that Ultron bots could fit in,
Yeah.
right? Like I just could not understand what this player was thinking. Oh, this is like the perfect team, and he
Yeah.
failed.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this, it seems like they have a lot of like when you have a lot of random parts like this, like a Doc Ock, a Ghost. A lot of times they make just better defensive trash, right? Make the other team hit you with something that's a lot of collection power, right? At least you're making them waste something. Um, Using it for offense, and it's just not no synergy. Ooh, just not guaranteed. Yeah, kind of really ugly. All right, so that is Nico's war fail of the week. If you guys want to check him out where he does war reviews and more on his YouTube channel, the link to that is in the description down below. Plus, you guys can also catch him on Twitch. The link to that is also in the description down below. Go give him a follow on Twitch. You guys can hear a lot of his stories. He just spent how many months in Colombia?
7 months in El Salvador.
Oh, 7 months in Salvador. Sorry, my bad. So if you want to hear some crazy stories, I'm pretty sure he's got plenty to share. Go check him out on Twitch. So, continuing with our last 2 polls we have here. So, this is probably the first poll I put out after our last video, and I did put this out before we got clarification. This was on the first blog post we got. How do you feel on a scale of 1 to 5 about Teal Gear only being accessible in store, events, and offers? And this is before the patch went live, so we didn't really get to see what it looks like. 1, not bothered at all. 5, extremely upset. And then I think the day after I put this poll, it was clarified that it would also be in the War Store. But like I said, this was also put out before we actually did the update. So 5 people, so 32%, the majority of this poll says they're extremely upset. 15% out of 4, 3 or 25% out of 3, which they, like I said, we didn't get a chance to see it. 2 at 10, 1 at 18. I think I'm also in the 3 camp, even though I kind of am a little disappointed with the price tag and the availability, not only of the old 13 unique piece, like how often you see that and how often you can get that out of a teal orb, but also the amount you need for some characters out of the old G14 pieces that are, you can only, when they do show up, you can only get them 1 at a time, and some characters take 90. So it's definitely really pay gated. Where are you in the spectrum? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay in 3 as well, right? Like
Yeah.
I said, it's a little too early. You can understand that, especially in a game like this, our player base, they're focused on the long term, right? So
Yeah.
they see where it's at right now, they panic, right? But we're gonna get more availability of this gear as time goes on.
I think you would both agree, right? We're bothered a little bit, but we're not upset. I think that's where I
Yeah.
fall, right? So hopefully, they milk the whales, the krakens, and when that money dries up, they're like, okay, let's make it more accessible and a little bit more reasonable price, and maybe they'll get some of the more of the some other spenders that come in that are on the dolphin side of things. All right, so let's keep going here with our very last poll today, and that one is: are you willing to pay for costumes in Marvel Strike Force? And I have a lot of thoughts on this one, but the poll is overwhelmingly 88% as no, never. 4% says they would if it's reasonably priced. Yes, if they like. 7% say yes if they like the character, and then 2% says yes if I only use the character. So very spread out. Most are never. As someone who just doesn't have a lot of income myself, I'm probably going to be on the no never side. Where do you fall in all this?
Well, like if they could make some of the characters not look hideous, I might actually throw money at them.
Yeah.
Good God, Squirrel Girl looking at you, Emma Frost.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was surprised. I've never seen one of your polls so lopsided like that. Normally you get a bit of everything, but like
Yeah.
just 88% never. That was pretty surprising to me.
Yeah, and this was the last poll I put out prior to us filming this video, and it's also got the most amount of votes. So people are very polarized by this currently. And some of the things that I really want to bring up and really want to hammer home, if I've seen a lot of feedback, I put out one of my hot take videos that's gotten already quite a bit of feedback. And the problem is with costumes is that and people who don't work in the corporate world or have never interacted with the corporate business side of things, they don't do stuff for free, right? They're putting time and resources into a costume that could go towards other projects. It's reasonable to think that they have to make money from costumes, because if they don't make money from costumes, what's the point, right? There's no point in them making
Yeah.
costumes if it's not making money for the business. So my concern here is that we're definitely seeing the trend where there's more pressure on them right now to start seeing what can they make from costumes. And I think they're at the point where if not enough people spend on costumes, you can't make people spend. Is the next evolution in this stage going to be kit reworks behind costumes? I mean, I come from the corporate world. I know how these things run. I know how it goes. Other businesses, they're in the mobile space, do the exact same thing, right? They make a costume, but then there's a kit change behind that costume, or stat changes behind that costume. And honestly, they did say when they first brought costumes that wasn't their intention, but like I said, it's a business. They're not going to do stuff for free and expect them to do stuff for free. It's the same thing me asking you to work for free. Right? I'm asking you to spend time and effort for free, get nothing out of it. Would you do that? And the answer is going to be no. No one's going to donate their time unless it's something they're passionate about. But who's passionate about work? So I mean, so what are your thoughts there? As it's obvious at this point the direction they're going.
This is the thing that you take, like, why the other reason this one was so surprising to me was that, like, you take games like League of Legends or Mobile Legends, where they're free games, and all their income comes from people buying costumes, and like they make millions of dollars,
Yeah.
right? So you would think that people, if they had the opportunity to throw money, especially in a Marvel game, right, where you could have like 80 Spider-Man, or the time that Wolverine was in Spider-Man's body, and like all these different tiny little variants. People like to feel unique, so even though you and I have the exact same Spider-Man, mine has this costume from some comic that you've never heard of. You know how these hipsters are, right? So
Yeah.
I would have really thought that people would be more interested in them, but if they're tied into kit reworks, there was a game, Marvel Avengers Alliance, that was a Facebook game,
Okay.
and they were really big into that. And with some of the characters, it was neat because it completely transformed them. But other characters, you were never going to use the base costume. You were always going to use one of the kit-based ones because they turn them better. So what I'm trying to get at is that if I have to spend X amount of money to unlock the newest character, and then throw X amount of money to get the costume to make their kit better, I could see that going really bad with the player base. While just selling costumes is a way for them to make money and not give any bonuses or push the whales further ahead.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that they would be better off to stick with costumes, and I'm sure that people will spend money on them. If they ever put Quicksilver in the game, I'll buy costumes to make them look cool.
So I guess there's a couple things on here I'll follow up on before we end this. So because my first question is that they've already tried the $50 price point for costume, didn't work. They tried the $35 price point for costume, it didn't work. And now we're gonna get a $20 price point for a costume that comes with other things for Emma Frost, and the question becomes: are you spending the $20 for Emma Frost's costume in the Battle Pass?
Actually, I was trying to find her costume. I couldn't see it. But another mobile game that I used to play was a Final Fantasy one.
Yeah.
They charged $50 for a new costume, and it gave you some in-game currency. and I probably spent a lot thinking about it on that, right? So when
Yeah.
you and again with a game like Marvel, there's some characters that just resonate with the player base, and that you or I might not want to spend money on Cyclops' costume,
Yeah.
but the player who I'm thinking of Mola Lisa from our last alliance would definitely throw money down. So I try not to buy Battle Pass and Strike Pass because I don't want to encourage that kind of behavior on their part.
Yeah.
But I can see a lot of players doing that.
I hope they do, because that's the only thing that's going to save us from having kit reworks behind a pay to win mechanic. That's, that's the writing on the wall. So hopefully there's. I mean, honestly, I would buy the battle pass if there was teal gear in it. They don't have to put a costume in there for me to buy it. Just start putting teal gear in there, and I'll probably end up buying it. Without teal gear, I'm not buying it. A costume's not worth it to me, especially when there's 3 characters being released per patch that I would much rather, if I'm going to spend money on this game, getting a head start on them, because they're pretty much part of the meta. But with that said, any last words before we end this one?
No, I think that's pretty spot on. And if you guys are listening, Scopely, can your costumes change the profile pictures too? Because some of them are even worse. They're little pictures.
Yeah, that would really be a nice.
I would pay for that, Scopely. I would.
All right, guys, and that will do it for this week of these polls that are the voice of the community. Just see what there was, and if you guys want to participate in this or even have your comments featured in one of these videos, the best thing to do is make sure you check out the community tab when you're in YouTube and just see if I have any polls that are up active and just giving your feedback. With that said, if you guys enjoyed this, do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new and haven't done so already, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.